So you're not just tracking people that visited your site. You say, oh, we spent 500,000 on ads and 50 people visited our site. You've not acquired customers. Because you can be spending on your acquisition. You can be spending on ads, but people are not using your app. We don't have money to just be doing marketing anyhow, right? We need to ensure that every single booking that happens through our platform is profitable. Whether the booking is 500 naira or 50,000 naira, we are making money. It's better for you to have low churn first before you start trying to scale marketing. You need to figure out, what do our users want? What will make them continue using our product? If someone stops using your product, why did they leave? Is this something we can fix? You fix it. You see that, okay, churn rate has reduced. Then you start pouring money into acquisition. Because if you don't deal with churn, churn will deal with you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Charles. Chungozi has given a general overview, but I'll just walk you through the story very quickly. So I studied computer science I studied computer science in the university. Final year, there was a course on website design and data security. That was the very first time I learned about websites. And I just found it, at that point, I thought I'd found my calling, right? Immediately I started designing websites. I was like, yes, this is it. I could go a whole day without eating as long as I was on my laptop designing one thing or the other. So I felt like that was it. I graduated with a 2.2. While I was trying to beef up my CV so that I will be more attractive to companies, I said, okay, let me just be, this skill that I've learned, let me just be designing websites for people. So I designed a website for my sister. I think it was for free. Or maybe she paid me 20K. I designed a website for her friend. I designed a website for my church. I designed a website for my own friend. And that's how I started. I did an internship somewhere for about 4 months. And that's where things started getting better. I learned something called search engine optimization. At the same time, I got a part-time job at a church, Fountain of Life Church. I was working with them 3 times a week, trying to just make some extra money. And while I worked there for about 1.5 years, and while I was there, people now started reaching out to me. They liked the things they saw on my website, and they said, okay, can you build a website for me? And that's how it just got to a point where it started affecting the part-time job I had. I said, okay, you know what, I'll focus on this thing full-time. It's been 14 years now since I've been running that business, CKDIGITAL. We've worked with some of the biggest brands in Nigeria and outside of Nigeria. We've delivered over 600 projects. We've had a 92% client satisfaction rate. We have over 100 5-star testimonials on Google. That's to show what we've been able to do over the years. About 4 years ago, in fact 5, around COVID, I went to a barber shop, and it's the regular barber shop that I go to. But that day, I was just frustrated. You know how it is at the barber shop. So just ignore my dreads. Before COVID, I used to cut my hair every single week. Right? So barber shop, got there, and there were like 6 people that I had to wait for before he will attend to me. And you know how it is now. Even if there are 3 other barbers there, your guy is your guy. You cannot disappoint him and go somewhere else, right? So I was really frustrated. I just thought about it like, I think this was late 2019. Like, this is like, in this day and age, there should be a solution to this problem. So I said, okay, you know what? I'm interested in building software I've been designing websites. Let me start building software. Let me build my own product. So I said, okay, let me build an appointment booking software so that as a customer, if I want to get a haircut, I can just book ahead and I will not be delayed when I get to my barber. I spent time, I spent money working on this product. I called it Reservo. It was a way for you to book ahead from people that you already, what's the word? Like people you already trust, like people your customer, right? But you pay them a little bit extra just so that they give you priority treatment, right? But the idea is that when you get there, you're not delayed. That was the whole idea. Spend so much time, but I then realized, like, similar to what Chimgozirim said, like, first time I found out you make some very stupid mistakes. Like, I cared so much about me, my own side of things, right? As the product owner, as the customer, but I didn't really think about the business, like the people that will use it, the barbers. So after I built beautiful app, very beautiful app, right? We just realized that barbers don't care. They don't care about customer experience, like, oh, let me ensure that my customer is not delayed. In fact, we realize that they like it when they see people sitting down waiting. So those types of issues are things that, as a first-time founder, you probably would not think about. Or if you've not been coming for events like this, you're like, at that time, I cared so much about my idea. Like, I could just wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, oh yeah, this feature will be nice. I had a long list in my notes of all the features 3 years down the line that we will build into this app. I felt like, no, this is definitely going to be a unicorn. Like, there's no way this thing will not work, right? I mean, you know, if it was a unicorn, you would know by now. So it didn't happen. After that, so Reservo is still running, but we had to pivot it. We just made it a simple, like similar to Calendly, but with payment, right? So today it's used by mostly beauty businesses, people that do nails, people that do hair and all of that. Because usually those types of businesses, you need to book an appointment. So they are the ones that use it the most now. After that, my wife and I, so quick story. She studied computer science as well, but after she graduated, she went into marketing. So at some point, she got tired of marketing and wanted to go back to software development, to computer science, to tech, right? So she decided to quit her job, decided to spend 1 year learning through online courses and all of that. And then after she had learned and was ready to start applying for jobs, I mean, we discussed it and I realized that, see, the only way you get a job is if you can show people what you've done. Like, let them see that, okay, well, I've taken these courses, but this is what I have built. So one idea I had is Questionwave, the one that Chimgozirim mentioned earlier. So we just built out Questionwave, simple tool, event like this, Q&A session. We're going to have a Q&A session. You see different people raising up their hands. Sometimes people will ask questions that somebody else has already asked. Sometimes some people are shy and they will not even bother asking questions. Or like you don't know which question is most important. Maybe 5 people have the same question, but they will answer somebody else. The most important question of that session, nobody heard it, right? So we just built a very, very simple app. It's called Questionwave. We launched it on Product Hunt. It became number 2 product of the day, which is a big deal. Today, it has been used in 96 different countries for over 10,000 events. When Chimgozirim asked if Questionwave is a startup or if it's a product, I said it's a product. It's not a startup. We've not monetized it, right? We're just seeing the numbers growing. So it's not in fact, as far as I'm concerned, it's still a project, right? Because as long as we're not monetizing, there's no business model around it now, you can't call it a startup. As far as I am concerned, right? We're not trying to raise money. It's my own proof that you can build something from Nigeria that is used globally, right? We intend to monetize, but that's where we are today. Beezop is it might not resonate with everybody. It's called a standard operating procedures product, right? So there are companies that need you to know how things are done. If we are onboarding people, these are the 10 steps that need to be completed every time. If we are offboarding anyone, these are the 10 steps. If we are doing SEO, this is how to do it. So companies that are structured like that, they need something called standard operating procedure. So our software just basically makes that easier for them. It's mostly for businesses, mostly in Nigeria, it's bigger businesses. We have some financial services companies as our clients in Nigeria, but our goal is again to try to open it up to a larger audience. All right, so that's introduction, just to give you guys an idea of some of the things that I have done, and hopefully earn enough clout that you will say, okay, let me listen to this guy. All right, so yeah, what we're looking at today is key numbers every early stage founder should track. And I'll move very fast so that we have time for questions and answers. All right, so the 3 things we will cover today: the key numbers startups should track, how to calculate and interpret them, and how to prioritize metrics based on your business type. So for this first part, it's a bit tricky because I don't know the type of startup you are running or that you are planning to run. So this part is going to be very generic. So we're going to look at different metrics that cut across different types of startups, right? And then we'll now look at how to calculate them, just very simple math. And then we'll get to a point in the conversation where I will cover different types of startups and the key metrics that they should focus on. All right. Now, next, 90% of startups fail. Are you aware? In fact, I think in Nigeria, it's more than 90%. Why do they fail? First is, this is the most common, they run out of money, or they don't even have money in the first place. Right? The moment you run out of money, the startup is going to fail. Next is they don't find product market fit. They build, maybe like Reservo version 1, you build out a very beautiful app, right? Maybe you're even tracking vanity metrics like, number of people that signed up or number of visits to your website, right? But there's no product market fit. People are not actually getting value and dragging you like you start having problems like, we're not able to attend to the number of people that are reaching out to us, or we need to scale our server, right? You don't get to experience that. Or you even have all of that, but you are not making money. You're just burning cash, right? Or they scale too fast or too slow. And a typical example of this one is, you may know of some startups like that in Nigeria where they had a lot of clout, like a lot of people were talking about them and all of that. And after a while, you just realize that they shut down because they were scaling marketing, but the unit economics did not make sense. They were basically losing money. So they had a good product, but they were not really at the point where they were supposed to be scaling. They were supposed to still be dealing with some foundational issues before scaling, all right? Now, but one major thing is that if you don't track your key metrics, you won't see problems early enough to fix them. If you don't know what to measure, what to track, you just realize that there's a problem down the line, and it's a problem that you could have figured out that problem months ago, right? So the idea of this session is, what are those things you should track? So that when it comes to running out of money, you know when you will run out of money. Like you can calculate when you will run out of money. You know when you should start trying to raise funds. You know the metrics or the traction that is required for you to raise the amount of money that you need to raise so you don't run out of money. I hope that's clear. In terms of product market fit, you know what matters to your business. What is the key metric that determines if you have product market fit? And the thing about product market fit is, you know if you have it. If you are not sure if you have it, you most likely don't have it, right? But there are key metrics that you can see, that whether you feel like you have product market fit or not, you can tell that we are making progress. And finally, you know when it's time to scale, right? So let's get right into it. There are three pillars for startup metrics. One is your growth metrics. And I'll break down each of them and give you some examples of these different metrics. Now, this is not a very exciting topic, but I'm hoping people will know those, right? But please stay with me. Growth metrics. Growth metrics typically, let me just go back to that. All right. Growth metrics cover how well are you acquiring and retaining users or customers. That's what this is concerned with. How well are you acquiring and retaining users or customers? That's what you want to figure out. Financial metrics. Can your business sustain itself? Now, one issue that people get wrong is that they don't think of startups as business. Does that make sense? Like, some people just don't get that a startup is a business. If, for instance, you wanted to start a business, you'll be thinking, how much can I make? What do I need to invest? If I invest this amount of money in starting this business, when will I start making money? Where is the profit, right? But most times, when people say they want to start a startup, they don't think that way. What they are thinking is, how do I raise money? Like, that's typically what people think. Or they are thinking, oh, how quickly can I get users? They're not thinking, how quickly can we start making money? Is our business going to be profitable? Right? What does our business need to look like for it to be attractive to investors? They're not thinking that way. They're thinking like they're starting with the things that don't matter first. All right. Now, operational metrics. Are you running efficiently? That's what this covers. Now, we'll be doing some very, very basic math. So for the three different pillars, we'll cover briefly some of the things you need to take note of or the metrics you need to track for each one. So under growth metrics, the first thing we are looking at is the customer acquisition cost. And this is simply how much does it cost to acquire a new customer. You need to know, especially if you are running ads. It means you are spending money to get traffic. You need to know how much is it costing you to get a customer. So, example, I will share a lot of examples so that it's relatable. If you spend 500,000 naira on ads and you get 50 customers, your cost of acquisition is 10,000 naira. Is this clear? Yeah, because CAC is your total marketing and sales spend divided by the number of new customers acquired. Now, it seems simple, but this is only simple if these people are paying you. If they are not paying you, it's just cost of acquisition in terms of, oh, you just got them to visit your site. What you should be calculating is not the cost that it got people to come to your site. It's the cost that it cost for them before they started paying you. Do you understand? So you're not just tracking people that visited your site. You say, oh, we spent 500,000 on ads and 50 people visited our site. You've not acquired customers. Do you understand? Is it clear? Okay. Now, why is this important? Because if your cost of acquisition is too high, your business is not sustainable. If your cost of acquisition is too high, your business is not sustainable. But how do you know if the cost of acquisition is too high? That's the next one. Lifetime value. Lifetime value is how much revenue do you earn per customer over their lifetime. How much do you earn per customer over their lifetime? And this is the formula. It's very simple. It looks long, but it's simple. Average revenue per user times customer lifetime. Simple. If a customer pays you 5,000 naira per month, and they typically stay for 12 months, their lifetime value is 60,000 naira. Is that clear? If a customer pays you 5,000 naira a month, right, the worth of that customer to you is not 5,000. The worth is how much they are going to pay during, as long as they are using your product. Okay? So it's this figure you can use to determine how much you should spend in acquiring a customer. If throughout the lifetime of this customer with your business, the maximum they are going to spend is 100,000, it does not make sense to spend 100,000 to acquire them. It means that they are not it's not profitable. When it comes to unit economics, it's not profitable. So when you see a lot of startups spending money on just ads, trying to get traffic, trying to get sign-ups, sometimes they are not focused on the things that really matter. Because you'll be surprised that why is it that this startup that claims that they had 2 million active users ended up shutting down? It's because the users were not profitable. It's just numbers. Okay? If a customer pays you 5,000 a month and stays for 12 months, 60,000, this is not bad, it is not good. It depends on how much it costs for you to get that customer. If you used organic marketing does not mean you're not spending any money at all, but you are not running ads, right? So if, for instance, it's through word of mouth, it's pretty much like free marketing, right? Pretty much, but it's not actually free because there's something you did before somebody else would spread word of mouth, right? But the cheaper your marketing, the more profitable it is for you, right? But also, the higher the customer lifetime value, the more you can confidently spend on marketing. If, for instance, and I'll give an example. If, for instance, one customer is going to pay you 2.5 million naira a year for your software, maybe it's a B2B software, 2.5 million naira a year, does it make sense to spend 250,000 naira to get one customer? Why does it make sense? What? Yeah, because number one, it means that the cost I used to acquire this customer, I will make it in just 1 year. In fact, I will make it in 1 month. Now, because if I now consider the lifetime value, if I realize that, even if a customer is paying us 2.5 million, most customers stay with us for 4 years. It means the customer's lifetime value is 10 million naira. Does it make sense for me to now spend 1 million naira to get this customer? Does it? One customer. Does it make sense for me to spend 1 million naira to get them? No. So look at it. This is the scenario. The product costs 2.5 million naira a year. The average customer is going to be with us for 4 years. Does it make sense for me to spend 1 million naira to get just this one customer? Okay, I mean this is good. So if you say yes, it's 2.5. Like the customer is going to pay me 2.5 million naira for 1 year. On average, customers stay with us for 4 years. On average, we earn 10 million naira per customer. Exactly. I'm going to get 10 times what I spent. So you see how to think. So it now means that when I'm thinking of marketing, because I know customer lifetime value, I can decide that, okay, I have a budget of 1 million naira to get this client. just this one client, it means that I can decide that I want to buy, what can I buy? 1 million naira. Like, how can I get someone's attention with 1 million naira? 1 million naira in today's economy is safe. But you get my point. Like, it means that, for instance, I can decide that I want to do an event, okay, where I'm going to spend 10 million naira for that event. And I'm only inviting maybe 30 CEOs to that event, right? All you can eat. They get packs that contain maybe a good perfume. Maybe you get like hampers, like they will feel very special. Like you literally spent 1 million naira on me. If I feel like I'm going to get that deal, it makes sense. But it will not make sense to do that if the customer lifetime value is not high. So it's easy to see when we talk about a product that costs 2.5 million naira a year. But think about, let's use another example. Think about any app, Nigerian app that you use. Let's use any example and try and figure out what customer lifetime value is. Any app in Nigeria. OP. Now, what do you think is the customer lifetime value for OP? So to determine that, obviously, we need to know average revenue per user, right? And then customer lifetime value. How long has OP been in Nigeria? So let's say like 6 years, right? 5 years. Okay. Now, most of their users have been users for 5 years. So they can probably say that their customer lifetime is 10 years. Maybe on average, right? They might say 10 years. Now, average revenue per user. To determine average revenue per user, we need to know what their business model is. How they actually make money. Okay? Is there a way we can even determine that? I don't know if OP is the best of examples, because I don't fully understand their model. You think they are running at a loss?
I think I saw something they were running at a loss.
And it's not the best of examples. Okay, let's try Chowdeck. I like Chowdeck, right? I don't know their numbers, but I like them because from their business model, you can tell that they are trying to make money. So a lot of Nigerians are not happy with them because they are trying to make money. The typical Nigeria founder mindset, especially when you've gone to YC, you've raised venture capital, is let us grow at all costs. Just pay us the cost of delivery. Pay us the cost of the food. We'll do free delivery. But Chowdeck will charge you for delivery, and they will now charge service fee. And if things are tight in that period, they will charge surge fee. Do you understand? So they are trying to make money. Okay? Now, average revenue per user, let's just assume that the average customer spends how much? 3,000 naira for each order. So average order value is 3,000 naira. Let's just assume for the sake of calculation that the average person is going to spend, let's say 5,000, right? Just to make the calculation easier. 5,000 naira, and we'll do 10 orders in a month, right? That's 50,000 naira. Let's assume that Chowdeck makes 10%. Again, just for easy calculation. 10% on each order. Because remember, they are making money from the merchant, they are making money from you. They are probably making some money on the delivery as well. So let's just assume it's 10%, right? So it means that they would be making 5,000 naira, right? No, let's do the calculation. So 50,000 naira per month per user. So 5,000 naira per user. Now, let's assume that their average lifetime value, their customer is going to be with them for 3 years, maybe before they jackpot, right? It means that for one customer, they will get 5,000 naira per customer times 12 in a year, right? That's 5,000, that's 60,000, right? They're making 60,000 naira profit. Times 3, that's 180,000 naira. So it means that if they spend 18,000 naira or 36,000 naira to get a single customer, it's still profitable. Right? So if they are trying to get 1 million users, they can spend 18 million naira on a campaign, and it will make perfect sense because the unit economics make sense. So does that help? Yeah. Awesome. Now, next is churn rate. This is AKA leaking bucket. It's the percentage of customers you lose over time. Your churn rate is customers lost divided by total customers at the start of the period times 100. So simple. If you had 100 customers and you lost 5 in a month, your churn rate is 5%. This is the leaking bucket. Because you can be spending on your acquisition. You can be spending on ads. But people are not using your app. Right? Or they download the app, they don't even open it. Or they open it, they don't sign up. Or they sign up, and the key thing they are supposed to do, they don't do it. Then at some point, they're trying to save space on their phone. They uninstall the app. All right? So, no matter how fast you are growing in acquisition, if you are not dealing with churn, it's just, again, a leaking bucket. You are trying to fill up the bucket, but the bucket is leaking. So it can never get full. So you need to, in fact, it's better for you to have low churn first before you start trying to scale marketing. You need to figure out, what do our users want? What will make them continue using our product? If someone stops using your product, why did they leave? Is this something we can fix? You fix it, you see that, okay, churn rate has reduced. Then you start pouring money into acquisition. Because if you don't deal with churn will deal with you. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. All right. So this is basically the formula. So you're just looking at, okay, how many customers did we lose? How many customers did we have at the beginning of that period? And we just multiply it by 100. All right? Now, part 2. These are now financial metrics. MRR and ARR, so monthly recurring revenue and annual recurring revenue. And this one is very simple. Monthly recurring revenue is basically how much you are making from subscriptions every month. This only applies if you are running like a software as a service, or you have a subscription model in your product. So like Chowdeck now, they've started doing their, what's it called? Is it Chowdeck Pass? Chow Pass. So Chow Pass is supposed to be a subscription, so that you are paying a fixed amount every month, and then you get free delivery, similar to like Amazon Prime and the likes. The Glovo is doing the same thing. I think there's this Glovo Prime. Basically, they're trying to add subscription to their business model. Why? Because subscription, recurring revenue provides stability. You can tell that, okay, if we have 100 customers paying us this amount, this is how much we are going to make by the end of the year. Stability, right? But with the regular model, you don't know how many customer orders you are going to get in a month. So you can't really project. You can just guess, right? But your guesses are much stronger if you have recurring revenue, all right? So MRR is how much you're making on a monthly basis. ARR is multiplying that by 12. But this only makes sense for SaaS companies, like companies that are, maybe not SaaS companies. It only makes sense if your customers are paying you on a monthly basis. So PiggyVest should not be tracking MRR. OPay should not be tracking MRR. It doesn't make sense. Right? Zoho should be tracking MRR. Are we familiar with Zoho now? right? They should be tracking MRR because these businesses are paying them either monthly or yearly. All right. So if you have 50 customers paying you 10K per month, your MRR is 500K and your ARR is 6 million. This one is straightforward, right? All right, we've discussed that. Now, burn rate and runway. And again, see, these things that we're sharing, these are things that, especially if you decide that you want to raise funding and you are speaking with customers, potential investors, they may ask you these things. They might just say, what's your MRR? They might say, what's your CAC? It's not at that point you'll be like, you're not going to enter ChatGPT. What does CAC mean? No, you need to know these things. You need to know what they mean first, and you need to now know your own numbers. All right? Okay. So burn rate and runway. This is basically how much money you spend monthly and how long your cash will last. If your expenses are 1 million naira a month, your burn rate is 1 million. It's as simple as that. It's basically how much are you spending in a month. Simple. Your runway is the amount you have in the bank divided by your burn rate. That basically means how long do you have before you run out of money. If you have 12 million naira in the bank and you are spending 1 million naira a month, it means you have 12 months to live. I mean, the startup, right? It's as simple as that. So if a startup is checking their runway and their burn rate, they know when they either need to break even, like they are making more money that they are spending, right? Or they need to raise more money. But there are startup founders that do not check this. They are so engrossed in the business that by the time they check their burn rate, it's already too late. Or the ones that underestimate the effort that it's going to take for them to be profitable. So by the time they now start taking it seriously, it's too late. Okay, I think this one is very straightforward. Why does this metric matter? Because if you run out of cash, you shut down. Okay, yes. Gross margin and profitability. This one, not a lot of people talk about it or think about it, but it's very important in the sense that you want to be profitable, right? You want to be profitable on the long run. And if possible, on the short run, right? Personally, I prefer the kind of business. I don't think like the typical, maybe that's a problem, right? I've not raised venture capital. Maybe that's why I've not raised venture capital. Because remember I told my story. I was just designing websites, right? The way website service works is, this is what I will do for you. This is how much you pay me. You pay me up front, right? I deliver the work. You pay me my balance. On each project, I can say that, okay, I want 50% margin. I will not spend more than 50%, no matter what. I will not spend more than 50% to deliver this project, even if I'm paying people. Like, it just makes sense. From one project, I know I'm making money, right? I'm never at a loss. So when I decided to do startups, that was my own thinking as well. Like, okay, so with Beezop, it's like, okay, we are focused on businesses, right? We will not say Beezop does not have a free version. That just use it. We might do free version later, right? But as at today, we still need the money. We will not say just use it. No. We will do demo. We can do 10 demos for one customer. But you will pay. You will pay. If you want to use the product, you will pay. It's better for me to just be looking at my software like this. Just be looking at it. Nobody is using it. I'm not doing any customer support. Then I'm just doing customer support, feeling like I'm making progress. But MRR is not increasing. It does not make sense. Right? Now, gross margin is basically, let's use this example, it will make it easier. 40% gross margin means that for every 10K sale, you keep 4K after direct costs. right? It just means on each maybe transaction, what's the profit? Like, what's the rate of profit? Maybe it is 5% profit margin on each transaction. Reservo today. Remember I said it's now an appointment booking solution, like appointment scheduling and all of that. We do 6% commission or processing fee on each transaction. If you don't like it, don't use it. 6%. Because we calculated it that we don't have money to just be doing marketing anyhow, right? We need to ensure that every single booking that happens through our platform is profitable. Whether the booking is 500 naira or 50,000 naira, we are making money. So, I can confidently do marketing because I know, marketing that makes sense based on the lifetime value, right? Because I know that every booking is profitable. I'm making money on each booking. Someone else might look at Reservo and say, no, these people are charging too much. Let's slash our own to 2% and capture the market. I will say, all well and good. Good luck. It might take 1 year. It might take 3 years. But if you don't change that business model, you will leave the market. I will remain. That's how it works. Because at the end of the day, that profitability is what matters. Some people might argue and say, no, it depends on the business model, right? They might say that maybe your investors want you to grow at all costs, get users. Like, once you have a lot of users, you get investors. But is it not better for you to have users and be profitable than for you to just have users? If an investor has to choose between two businesses, one has users and they are still profitable no matter how little. Like on each transaction, they are making money, they are profitable, and they have users. There's another one that has a lot of users but is not profitable when it comes to unit economics. Like it's a no-brainer. So it's not an either or. It's not like either you are profitable or you are growing fast. How about you try and do both? Okay. I hope this part is clear. Profitability and gross margin. All right. Then conversion rate. This one is so important, especially if you are doing marketing. Your conversion rate. Is anyone here familiar with what's called the Pirate framework? Pirate framework. Okay, so Pirate framework is AAARRR. AAARRR. It's like a funnel, right? So from awareness, acquisition, I should have put it on the slide. Awareness, acquisition, activation, then retention, revenue, and referral. Okay? So it's basically like a funnel. So first, people need to be aware of your business. Then, so let's say awareness is like you run ads. Next is acquiring. Maybe they came to your website. Next is activation. Maybe they signed up. Between each of these 3 points, there will be drop-off. There will be people that saw your ad that did not come to your site. There will be people that came to your site that did not sign up. There will be people that signed up that did not pay for your product. There will be people that paid for your product but did not stay after the first month. There will be people that stayed after the first month but they will not refer you to anybody. So if you are measuring each stage, you can determine what you need to work on. So let's do a very simple scenario here. If a lot of people are seeing your ad and are not clicking on it, what do you need to fix? If a lot of people are seeing your ad but they are not clicking on it, what do you need to fix? Acquisition. Your target. Your target. The offer. Yeah, so it's correct. Both of them are correct. right? So it might... Both of them are correct. It might be that you are targeting the wrong people. Like, the people seeing your ad cannot resonate with what you are saying. So that's a sign. It might also be that your offer is not strong enough. They are seeing it, but there's no reason why they should click on it. But do you know that if you are not measuring it, you might not know that that's where the problem is. If you are looking at the number of people that are coming to your website, you say, Instagram is not working. Or we've tried Instagram, it's not working for us. Or we tried LinkedIn, it's not working for us. Because you were not looking at the right metrics. Okay, let's try another example. If people visited your website, a lot of people visit your website, but they don't sign up. What's the problem? What do you need to fix? People are landing on your website, but they are not signing up. Okay, maybe the sign-up process itself, you said?
The audience itself, the audience, the offer is not for the audience that are targeting.
Okay. Any other points? The UX, right? Maybe there's... So I think that's similar to like that onboarding process or that, yes?
It's possible that maybe the content on the website is not explanatory enough for them to understand why they are there or what they should be doing.
So the messaging, right? Okay. How many minutes do I have? Let me be sure. I have 20 minutes, including question and answers. Okay. All right, cool. We're good for time. Yes? Exactly. So that's why it's important to track these metrics, right? Like you are tracking, okay, people are coming to our site. Why are they not signing up? Then you now realize that the messaging, like the people what they saw on your ad, when they came to the landing page, was different. Right? So because they clicked on the ad because they were interested, right? At least most of them. And then when they landed on the site, they got confused again and just realized this is not for me and they left. Or maybe they realized, okay, it's actually for me. And they started the sign-up process, but you did not know that you have a bug. Or maybe the form you are asking people to fill is so long that it's a turn-off. They're like, I don't have time for this, and they bounce. All right? That's why it's important to track these things. Now, let's final example. If people are signing up, right, but they are not using the product. So you spent money, your hard-earned money to run ads. They saw the ads. They clicked on the ad. They visited your website. They signed up, but they did not use the product. What is the problem? Or what could the problem be, and how should you fix it? Oh yeah, now let's think about it. Yes.
I think the factor that I would consider that is much. It can be your pricing,
Can be your pricing.
or it can be maybe verification. Maybe you have a study, but you don't want to give you any because you can need.
Okay. They don't trust you.
They don't trust you.
Mm-hmm.
So you can start to back up.
Okay.
I think if your product offering is not what you promised.
Yes. So expectation versus reality. Okay. Any other point? What? But the UX is just poor. They don't even know what to do. Any other point? Might not be engaging them because many times you sign up for a product and you just even forgot that you signed up. But maybe there are no emails coming to remind you of why you signed up, why this product is useful and all that. So all of those points are definitely valid. Mm-hmm.
Encourage them with strong lead magnets. Because sometimes you need to give them a reason to make that first purchase.
Right. Yes.
Then again, it's also possible that your product is trash.
Exactly. So, like you said, expectation versus reality. Like what they were expecting versus, and you know, this is where UX is very, very important. And designers are very key in the sense that you have spent all of this money. The app can do wonders. But because of the UX, people end up not using the product. And the tricky thing is that most founders overestimate the UX of their product. If you ask most founders, they'll say our product is easy to use. Hardly will you find a founder that will say, our product is hard to use. They will say it's easy to use. If there's any problem, they will say it's the customer that is illiterate. Not that their product is difficult to use. All right, so that's where we have to be very, very careful. And that's why we have to invest in UX. It's not just about the developers, the designers as well. Because before people interact with functionality, they will interact with design. All right, let's move on. But regarding this point, right, this is a very simple funnel. Website visitors to leads to paying customers. You want to track how many website visitors are you getting, how many leads are you getting, right? Where a lead is someone that has maybe signed up for, as an example. Now, what is the conversion rate between website visitor to leads? How many paying customers do you have? What is the conversion rate from leads to paying customers, right? So example, if you have 1,000 visitors and 100 sign-ups, and then 5 paying customers, your visitor to sign-up conversion rate is 10%, right? Because 10% of 1,000 is 100. But then your sign-up to paid is 5%, because 5 is 5% of 100. That's clear, right? Okay. So there are benchmarks for different industries, right? I don't have them off the top of my head, but different industries have different benchmarks. But you also have to be very careful because benchmarks also differ based on the market. So you might go online and say, what is a good conversion rate, maybe leads to paying customers, and they're giving you the metrics for the data for the US, and your own startup is in Nigeria. Trust me, it's not the same. Because there are people that they love your product, but they will not use it because you're asking them to pay. Do you understand? So you have to take note of that. All right, we're almost done. Operational efficiency. This is another operational metric, like how efficient is your team or how efficient are your operations. For instance, this is a very, very interesting one. Sometimes you would wonder why people will end up hiring so many people to now lay them off. Have you ever thought about it? Like, why did you hire this many people if you would lay them off? And if your business can run effectively after laying them off, why were they hired in the first place? Like, Elon Musk bought Twitter, fired a bunch of people, a large bunch of people. Twitter did not shut down. I mean, I think Twitter is worse than it was before, but in terms of the core of what the product does, it's still doing it. So, whether you like Elon Musk or not, one thing he proved is that Twitter did not need that much people. He's doing the same thing with US governments now. Right? But the point is efficiency. So, how many employees versus revenue generated? There's a metric called revenue per employee. It's only solid businesses that are tracking revenue per employee. Because it's not by the number of people you have. If a startup has 10 employees and they generate 10 million naira monthly, their revenue per employee is 1 million. Right? That's very simple. Now, another startup might be generating the same 10 million, but they have 100 employees. It means their revenue per employee is 100,000. that business is not as efficient as this one. Now, there might be another company that is generating 10 million in monthly revenue, but they only have 2 employees because they are automating a lot of things. Or they are only focusing on the things that matter. So efficiency. Because one vanity metric that, especially when you've raised money, that you can be tempted to focus on is, oh, we're a team of 200 people. Because, no. If you tell someone you have a team of 200 people, they will be impressed. They will be like, wow, solid team. If they say, what's your yearly revenue? You say, no, we are working towards it. All right? So lean teams with high efficiency scale better. It's easier to move. You can move a lot faster when you are a small team. Right? You can pivot the entire business and you don't have to convince multiple managers. I'm not saying you shouldn't grow a big team, but there has to be a reason. Do you get it? It has to be like, okay, we absolutely need to grow the number of people in this division. Right? So Chowdeck, I saw in the news that they laid off some contract staff because they are planning to automate some things, right? Whether that's the reality or whether it's a PR thing. But the point is that if it's true, then it's a good thing. It's not good for the people that were laid off, obviously. Obviously. You get my point. But I'm saying for the business, it's a good thing in terms of efficiency. All right. Now, let's look at it. Types of businesses and the key metrics to focus on. All right? A SaaS business is monthly recurring revenue. How much are you making on a monthly basis? Is it growing? Churn. We know what churn is. People are not dropping off. Lifetime value and the cost of acquisition. Okay? Now, you guys will be able to get the slides, right? Right after you get a QR code to get the slides. So you don't even need to take photos. All right? If it's an e-commerce business can actually be a startup. So, for instance, there are some startups that are actually selling physical products. So, for instance, Health Tracker. They have some kits that they sell to people. That's e-commerce, right? So, they need to be tracking conversion rates. They need to be tracking average order value. Like, on average, how much do people spend on each order, right? And the return rates. How often do people return the products? Right? Someone like Jumia, they will be tracking that as well. I don't know how returns work on Jumia, though. Now, if it's a marketplace, gross merchandise value, because the money is not for you directly. So you want to be tracking how much your merchants are making or how much they are processing. All right? Same thing with, so of course, customer acquisition cost and lifetime value. Fintech, a lot of things. A lot of things. So in addition to the basic one, CAC, LTV, you're tracking transaction volume. How much has gone through, how much you've processed, right? You are tracking active users because you want to show that people are using your product on maybe on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, right? You want to be checking churn, but you also want to be checking fraud rates because people can just be using your startup to clean money. And you are happy until EFCC. So different types of businesses, different types of metrics. Now, quickly, is anybody here happy to tell us the nature of business you run, very briefly, and then we can discuss and recommend the metrics you should focus on. So if you're going to talk about what you, just tell us, this is the name of my startup, and this is what we do. This is not pitch. This is not pitch segment. It's just what we do, so that we can just determine, okay, this is what you should focus on in terms of metrics. Yes.
Okay. So the name of my startup is My Crib.
My Crib.
Yeah, in business. But just connecting hosts and guests together. Hosts are people who own the chocolate, and guests are people who want to do the chocolate. We want to make the experience seamless for both the host and the guest.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's.
All right. What do you think is the number one metric you need to be.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Of that, but the thing is, we have two financial models. How we want to make money. The first one is through commissions. From the guest side, we're going to be charging about maybe 10 to 15%. We've not decided on that. And then for the host, we are having a software for them with which they can use to manage their bookings efficiently.
Okay.
And it will be like a monthly subscription.
Okay.
So I believe on that side it is a SaaS, but on the side of the guests, I'm not really sure what we should track.
Okay. I mean, I think it's actually pretty simple. Any ideas?
I think it's customer acquisition.
I mean, I think every business that's dealing with customers will definitely track customer acquisition cost. That one is standard, right? But what is the number one, or if I say like top 3 metrics you should be thinking about based on what he has said about his business? I think he has already touched on one. If he has a SaaS component, he needs to be tracking MRR. He definitely needs to track MRR, right? But for the other side of the business, what should he be tracking?
How many times the customer comes back to use the service?
I mean, that's important, but is it like the most important? What you say?
Number of successful bookings.
Okay, number of bookings, yeah. But I think because ratings as well, lifetime value of who? With that business model, I don't know. Or do you think? Because I don't think people are loyal to. It's a fickle market. Like if we compare it to like Airbnb, right? Like I might be using Airbnb, right? But the particular host, well, I think you actually have a point. If you're looking at it as the platform, not as the host, right? The platform can be looking at it like, okay, this particular customer, how many times are they using our service? But you really can't tell because it might be that they are on vacation, right? And there's a limited number of times that they would actually need to use the service. So that's what makes it a bit tricky. Yes, it's important. But I think, yes.
What if we look at it this way, like, let's say the shortlist they want to book for costs 200 per night.
Yes.
And they want to book for, let's say, 5 days. 1 million naira. So the amount we spend to get them versus the commission we earn on that their booking. So
Yes.
if we're charging 10%, that means we earn 100K. So how much did you spend to get that customer versus how much you made from them?
Absolutely. So that's cost of acquisition, customer lifetime value, because you will be measuring customer lifetime value not based on how many years they will be using your platform. It's really based on how many days. So you're looking at, on average, how many days do people book for? But you're not even looking at, in fact, you're not looking at how many days. You're looking at, on average, how much do guests pay? Right? So average revenue per guest. And then how much are you making on that? Right? So if average revenue per guest is 200,000 and your commission is 10%, it means you are making 20,000. Then you need to figure out, okay, what kind of acquisition are we going to do that will probably cost us like 2,000 or 4,000 naira to get that one customer, so that by the time we add other expenses, server costs, and we need to make some profit as well, we are not losing. Right? Okay, one more startup that we can use as an example. But I think that was a very good one. MRR but the tricky thing about MRR and that is your business depends on the hosts. So it might be a bit tricky if they also have to pay you to use your platform.
Basically, the commission is the guest that we pay to, not.
Yes, but if you don't have hosts,
Yeah. Now the thing is, we definitely have a free plan.
okay.
You don't have to pay.
Okay.
There will be additional features that if you as a host, you really don't want to stress yourself. You
Right.
want everything automated
Yeah.
by the platform. Then you can now say, okay, let me pay
Okay.
Extra.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Any other business that would like us to help them determine metrics? Okay. How do you track these numbers? Start very simple. Okay? Google Sheets, Microsoft Excel, just track it. Like, so at Reservo, right now, we're using Google Sheets. Like, January, this is the volume that we processed. February, this is the volume, like, that's the number I am looking at. That's the number I care about. I can't remember last time I checked Google Analytics for Reservo, right? It is the money, right? Because I know that based on this is how much profit we are making. So it doesn't have to be complicated. For website and app metrics, you're using Google Analytics to see, okay, especially if you want to track website visits, like all of those conversions, right? You want to use this to track that. But before I say this, before I continue, there is such a thing as tracking too much metrics or too many metrics. That needs to be very clear. So even though this presentation is about metrics, your business is not to track metrics. Your business is to grow. Right? So you don't want to be obsessed with metrics to a point where you are so focused on metrics that you are not doing the things that you need to do to grow the metrics. So there's something called your North Star metric. Your North Star metric is, what's this one metric? All these other metrics are important too. But what's this one metric that if it continues to grow, we are good? Or if it continues to drop, we are in a bad place? What's that one thing? For instance, Netflix, the average time that someone spends in their app is a good North Star metric. Not even revenue. Because that will take care of revenue. If someone signs up to Netflix and spends on average 5 hours every day, the person will renew. Do you understand? So what is that one thing that you need to be tracking? So Netflix will now be looking at, okay, what do we need to do to keep people on using our product for longer? That's why Netflix can pay Nigerian producers for content, because they want Nigerians to spend more time in Netflix. Do you understand? That's why they will invest in UX, such that as you are playing one episode, as it's finishing, it's already telling you that we are loading the next one. They don't want you to have to think to say, okay, next episode. No, they are saying, don't worry. We'll make it easy for you, because they want you to spend more time. For a social network like Instagram, same thing. Monthly active users, daily active users, right? So they will be investing a lot of effort into, like, if people are using Instagram regularly, Instagram will never run out of business. Because as long as they are users, there will be advertisers. As long as they are advertisers, Instagram is making money. So you need to figure out what is that key metric for your own business. And it's not always revenue. But you know that this thing, as long as it is growing, the revenue is not going to be a problem. Okay. So websites, Google Analytics, your apps, you can use Mixpanel. Of course, there are many other tools. Revenue tracking, Stripe, if you are doing international, Paystack. Like, you can just go into your Paystack dashboard and just be refreshing and seeing how your revenue is doing. Same thing with Flutterwave. If you want to be tracking finances, of course, QuickBooks, Zoho, Wave, and the likes. All right? This is pretty straightforward. So what are your action points from this presentation? If you're already running a startup, number one is, what are the 3 to 5 key numbers you need to start tracking? But you also need to determine what's your North Star metric, right? So it's like, what's the North Star metric? Then what are the other metrics? Okay? Don't track 10 metrics. Don't track every single metric. Maybe when you have a big team, you can now say, okay, this department, this is your metric, right? Maybe your marketing team, you give them this particular metric, maybe conversion rates, that they need to deal with that. Maybe your product team, you give them churn rates, that they need to deal with that, right? But at the stage of your business, there are different metrics that would matter the most at that time. Okay? Then set up a simple dashboard. Like I said, Google Sheets or use a tool. And then review these numbers weekly or monthly. Sometimes it might even be daily, depending on what the metric is, right? Like, for me, personally, it feels good when I go into Paystack and I'm refreshing Reservo's dashboard, right? Just to see, okay, right now, what's the current number? It might be tomorrow again, I'll go and check. It might be next week again, I'll go and check, right? Just to see how things are doing. All right? So that brings us to the end of the presentation. I'm glad that nobody dozed. At least I did not catch anybody dozing. Thank you for your attention. So this is a QR code to get these slides. And I'll be happy to address any questions. Thank you. Give me a round of applause now.
Okay, so if you have questions, we can take a few questions before we get into the pitch. All right. Wait, don't worry, use the mic.
Okay. So I'm trying to wonder if my business model, or should I say, what I call unique offering to people, what I think they would actually enjoy using our product, if it is actually what I think it is, not that I like it. I want to know if people would like it. So basically, on the user side, we are on the guest side. I mean, we are implementing artificial intelligence into the search feature. We want to make it such that as a guest, you want an apartment. Okay, let me give an example. You are a businessman and you are traveling for work and you need a shortlet to stay in maybe for 2-3 days. As a businessman, you prioritize a shortlet that has a workspace, maybe 24/7 lights, Wi-Fi, and all those things. So with our search feature, you should be able to specify what you want. You can just type it naturally in natural language, and you will get recommended the exact apartments that fit your specifications, rather than just, you go to Nigeria Property Center and you can only search with the bedroom, number of bedrooms. It doesn't really help. So I'm trying to see if that kind of feature is useful for people. You can also mix different distances. Okay, these metrics, and I want it to be nearby a supermarket or nearby a beach if I want to relax and all those things. So,
okay. So you're trying to figure out if that's actually something that will move the needle, right?
Yes.
If it will actually impact
the guests.
the guest. Okay. It kind of seems like, to me, it seems like a no-brainer that it will be useful, right? But you also need to track it. Is the product live?
Not yet. We have a wait list.
Okay.
We are launching a film for the year. Probably by next week. We have a pattern.
Okay. So the thing, what I would say, and others might be willing to share their thoughts as well, is if you've not launched, your biggest goal is to launch. Okay? You need to determine what makes your product stand out in a way that makes the most sense. And the keyword is most. The most sense to the users. And here's what I mean. There are platforms that do the same thing that are trying to solve the same problem that you are solving. Why would someone want to use your platform instead of theirs, right? It needs to be something that not just something you care about, but something that the users actually care about. What are their frustrations with the existing platforms? And it might have nothing to do with searching. Do you understand? So searching might be a nice to have, that even if you don't have it, but there's something else you have, they will use the product. There are some features that are delightful features. They're like, oh, I use this product because of this, but they also have this. That main because is what you need to figure out. Like, what is the frustration that they have with the... Sometimes it might be as basic as the commission. That just because your commission is 2% less than another platform, people will jump. It might be. It might be that, it might even be something as basic as customer service. It might be that they don't even want, shocking, it might be that they don't want to even interact with your app, that they want to send a WhatsApp message. And they will say that, wow, this people's customer service is much better. And I will recommend them. So you just need to figure out what, especially because you've not launched, right? You want a situation whereby by the time you launch, there's a clear message and value proposition that people see and they're like, yes, I need to give this a try. Or these guys, they are solving the thing that I find frustrating about these other ones. I will try them next time. Now, after you've launched, you've already figured that out. You're now competing on, oh, what can we do to delight users, right? You're now looking at, okay, this conversion rate that we have when people land on our listings page, right? How many of them go to a property page, right? Or to a single host page, right? You're not trying to optimize those ones over time with UX and all of that, but I'm not sure if that's the thing to focus on right now, unless that's your value proposition. Does that help?
Right. Okay, any other question? All right.
Thank you so much, Charles. It's nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too.
Okay, so my question is this. While you were teaching, you talked about customer acquisition cost, right? How about the Amazon model, right? Because you talked about the fact that it makes sense for your business to be making money from the onset, right? You should calculate how much you're acquiring your customers based on how much they are paying you. How about, like I said earlier, the Amazon model where you know you're burning money, but you're trying to change attitude, right? You know that the business you're bringing in, people before Amazon and being able to buy the books and then to other products online, people were going to the stores to buy, right? And he wanted to change that behavior. So let's say a child deck wants to change that same behavior. They want to make sure that everybody that once you think about, I want to eat, even if the restaurant is very close to you, that instead of going there, you want to order on child deck, right? And they then decide to say, okay, pay us the money for the food. The delivery is free. And they are burning money at the moment and not making any money, right? Are you saying that model is dead and shouldn't be used anymore? Or is there a kind of a situation where that model will be necessary or needed?
Okay, all right, very good question. Now, the very first thing is, do you have, anybody in this situation, do you have Amazon capital? That's the number one question. Because this strategy requires very patient capital, right? It means that you clarified the vision to the investors. The investors bought into that vision, that this is not a 5-year game, right? Maybe it's a 10-year game. And they agreed. And then you execute on that vision, right? But apart from capital, you also need to consider lifetime value. Because it's still the same thing. You are just pushing it to the future. But you know that the customer's lifetime value is still more than the free delivery. It means you are taking free delivery as a marketing strategy. Right? So you are just seeing it as, it's similar to the way OPay and a lot of these other platforms came into Nigeria. Like, really, like even Uber and Bolt, like, they were a lot cheaper before. The idea was, let it become a habit, right? Now, where the challenge is when that customer lifetime value is less than the customer acquisition cost. Where you've invested in these marketing strategies, but you cannot recoup that investment. either because people don't have money, right? So even if they are using your product for the next 10 years, they are not willing to pay. Or the moment you start charging, they drop off. In the US, where there is stronger buying power, companies can confidently invest for years because there's the data, everything is showing that, okay, things are growing. They know it's just a matter of time, right? So we just need to look at it as a marketing cost, and it's still the same principle. Your customer acquisition cost needs to be lower than your customer lifetime value. That will determine whether whatever marketing strategy you are using makes sense or not, short term or long term. Does that help? Awesome.
Okay, Victoria, there's someone in front of you.
All right. You really spoken well today.
Thank
Well
you.
done, sir. So I want to ask that when is the right time for a company or a startup to scale? Because I just launched an app last month, and apparently it was very, very good. And most of my friends abroad are asking that why is it not operating in the US and the UK? And I see no reason why I haven't scaled to that extent. But
Okay.
apparently I'm looking at my capital base and my team, and the operational structure is not yet organized. So when is the right time to scale? Or we can just scale because it costs nothing to scale to the space now.
Okay, I mean, if you say it costs nothing to scale, right? And so there are products that are not tied to a particular region. And scale, when you say scale, there are different types of scale, right? You can scale within the same market, you can scale international, like globally, right? If you decide to scale within the same market, it probably just means you are doing what's already working and you're just trying to increase it. If your product is primarily software and it's just pure software.
Yeah, software is a market listing app. A
Market,
marketplace.
it's a marketplace.
Yes.
Can you give us some more context? Like,
Okay, yeah, it's a marketplace. The name is Zella.ng.
okay,
And the USP basically is with Zella, you can actually get your product on the social media platform easily, because we realize that most vendors are having issues with Facebook payment card, TikTok payment coins, and all that. So we implement that to make our product more unique than our competitors.
who are your
And
competitors?
like GG, basically.
Okay, so it's literally a marketplace like GG.
Marketplace, like GG, yeah. Then we make the payment more cheaper than GG. Like, if GG is charging 100%, we're charging like 20%.
Okay.
And we are giving enough days to list your products and enjoy more visibility.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So definitely scaling is not going to be cheap, right? GG spend a lot of money on marketing, right? That's why most of us know them today, right? If you are competing directly with them, you need to have another approach. If it's not money, another approach to ensure that more people know about you. So it's not just an ability for your software to be used everywhere. It's about people knowing that that software exists and that they are using it. And for them to know that it exists, it's money. So scaling will involve marketing, right? Or marketing strategy. It might not necessarily be ads, right? But if that's not a problem, if marketing money is not a problem at all, then you also just need to look at, okay, the technology. When you're serving, like the traffic you've done in 1 month, trust me, you cannot compare it to 1 month in maybe Lagos versus trying to compare it with 1 month globally. So you might say, okay, you know what, let us try whole of Nigeria first, see how our technology works, right? You might decide, okay, let's do West Africa, right? Okay. Or let's even do from Nigeria to London and see how it works, right? Yeah. But that marketing is very, very key, or at least your distribution strategy.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. So, I mean, to answer your question pointedly, there is no specific right time, right? It's about having the things that you need to have in place before you decide to scale, right? But please don't scale if your unit economics don't already make sense.
I can get that.
If your unit economics right? If it's not making sense, like if you are losing money, then please don't scale yet, right? If churn is high, people are coming to your app, but they are not returning, fix that one first before you spend more money on customer acquisition. Do you understand?
Thank you.
All right, my pleasure.
Okay, I think there's a question here.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm thinking about LTV in the sense that, like, for a new game like Child Deck now, and they're building this platform that is centralizing a service that already exists, right? But it is doing this new thing at the same time. So I'm thinking about how do they calculate LTV? Because it's like the product doesn't exist, literally. So you don't know how it's going to perform. But by the time you've stayed enough to measure that amount, it's no longer really a startup. Like after a year or two, you've lost that shiny glow, sort of. So it's like at the early starts, maybe a month or two, how do you then look at LTV, especially if LTV is fundamental?
Okay, so I mean, that makes perfect sense, right? As a new startup, you don't know your customer lifetime value. You don't know for your startup, right? But are there competing solutions that you can, or comparable solutions that you can just use as an estimate? Because at the beginning, you don't know your customer lifetime value, and you can't assume you know it, right? But you might just assume that, okay, are there other platforms that people are using that is close to what we are doing, that people are paying for? Can we do business? Or you just even make up your mind that we don't know our LTV yet. If someone asks you, if you're a new startup, you literally just launched, and they ask you what's your customer lifetime value, you can tell them we don't know our customer lifetime yet, but we estimate that because of this, it will be 3 years. Or based on our model, we expect that it's going to be a habit-forming product. And we believe that our average customer is going to be with us for at least 5 years. At that point, it's just a hypothesis, right? But you're able to back it up by, it's going to be a habit-forming product. And based on that, this is what we are postulating.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, I think we have. You can pass the mic to him.
Hi. So, what's it called? Resting on what you just said, with physical products, how do you manage CAC, lifetime values, and stuff like that? That's number one. Number two is, I run an edtech, and then for edtech, because of school session, they're available one semester, second semester, and they're on break for the middle. How does that affect, say, our MRR, and then ARR, and then all of that metrics?
Okay. So first is for physical products, right? For physical products, you're definitely not looking at MRR. You're looking at customer acquisition cost, right? How much does it cost us to get one person that actually buys our product, right? In terms of the marketing, the sales effort, how much did it cost? That's pretty, like, how are you getting them? So are you running ads? Are you working with agents that are actually going on the road? How much are you paying those agents? How much are they spending on transportation? Up to the point that you get an actual customer, right? That's your customer acquisition cost, right? Lifetime value is this particular school, if it's for schools, for instance, how often, right? How long are they going to be your customer? That's another thing you want to figure out. Your second question is about you're working with schools. How can you figure out what? Yeah, so because you said like semesters, you might maybe not want to do something monthly. You might be looking at it from like an annual basis, right? So how much are we making from this school in a year, right? That's probably what will make the most sense. But is there a particular metric that you think is important that you're trying to figure out if you can use it for your business? So ARR is if it's recurring revenue. If it's recurring revenue, then it's definitely perfect. If the schools are expected to pay an amount yearly, then it's definitely ARR you should be tracking. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Hello. Okay, I think it's worked. Sorry. Hi, my name is Queen Sohe. I wanted to piggyback on his question about LTV. Do you, if you tell an investor that you're benchmarking against your perception about the product, you've not run a pilot, you've not worked in a similar space, it might just come off as BS. Apologies, right? So my question is, can you then also say that you're benchmarking against LTVs of similar companies in your current stage and geography? Do you understand? Because you cannot benchmark against Apple, against, like, it doesn't make sense, against Facebook, right? So can you, if you are privy and lucky enough to either have used the product or have access to that data, or you have from your own, which a lot of startups should do, to be honest, customer research, and we've spoken to people that are currently using competition, and they did the actual survey, and they engaged with them, not even survey, like interviews, focus group, and like from this pilot, 20 people have used my competitors for like 5 years, and a annual revenue from them of a total of this, that kind of thing, as against just saying that I believe that my product is a happy forming product, and that product will last. Give me 5 years LTV.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And I hope that my previous response made that clear, right? Maybe it wasn't clear enough. That's why Queen is reiterating, right? I said there are two options. It's either there's a comparable product that you can benchmark against, right? Competitors' product, you can say, based on this, we can determine that our lifetime value is going to be this, right? It has to be a product that is in a similar, not even just similar market or geography, but you are solving a similar problem, right? If it's a competing product, it's better, so that your fact is actually a fact, right? So I think Queen is spot on. And the other option I gave was if there is no competitor in your market, right? Or maybe you're doing something completely new. So imagine it's when, I think even there was something before Uber, right? But let's assume Uber was the pioneer. They were not, but if assuming they were the pioneer, it might be difficult for them to say this is what our customer lifetime is going to be, right? They might just say, hey, this is a product that people are going to be using every day. Or they might say people take cabs every day. Or people take cabs X number of times in a month, right? There just needs to be some way you are just using to, it's just like I said, a hypothesis that this is what we think it's going to be, right? And there are investors that would also understand, depending on how new or novel this particular product is, that, okay, at this point, you don't know your customer lifetime, but if it's a startup, they know what they are getting themselves into.
All right. I think we can take 2 questions, and then we can move on. This one.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to talk something about failure. So I just don't know if I can just quickly summarize so maybe you can give me an answer. So the question is, when is the right time to say, okay, it's time to pack and go?
Okay.
Now,
you have to give context.
I'm going to give.
Because I feel like I can already answer that question. All right, give us context.
Okay. So we run a platform for booking qualified, reliable artisans like plumbers, electricians. That's a big problem in Nigeria.
Yep.
All of us, we are aware.
Yes.
But we have tried it. A lot of people are trying it.
Mm-hmm.
But we still prefer to suffer in silence, in the sense that we keep complaining. But when we see solutions that solve this problem, we don't use them.
Mm-hmm.
So we tried the manual aspect. We were able to do something. We were able to do roughly more than 300 bookings.
Okay.
But we have realized that how can we make this thing work using technology?
Mm-hmm.
And I can't really say I have any key metric to say, okay, this is it. that can convince people to come and use our platform to book these guys. So my question is, do you think we should just pack and go, or we should continue?
Okay. So you mentioned that you're already doing it manually, right?
Yes.
Is it working manually?
It is, but we are not making money.
You're not making money.
Yes.
So it means that if you're not making money manually, there's a very low probability that you will make money when you try to automate it, right? If it's not working at a basic level, technology is not going to make that change. So imagine people were not booking cabs at all. Cabs were not a thing. And then Uber came. Maybe after some years with significant and consistent marketing, maybe they would have made it work. But I don't think you have that sort of capital to just keep doing that, right? This particular space that you are in is also tough, right? The question whether you should just pack up, it's a question that nobody can answer for you, but I feel like you yourself would already know the answer. If it's working, you know it's working. If it's not working, you know it's not working. But sometimes the question is, should you persevere? Especially when you hear a lot that, oh, successful founders don't give up, right? Because there's a tendency that you might feel like, oh, I did not give this my all, right? But also there are times when you know that you've given it your all. Now, there are problems that time can solve. That this thing is working. Maybe it's just not time yet. If I stay in the market, as long as I don't die, things will pick up. Right? There are problems like that. Right? So, real life example, my startup Reservo, from 2021 to 2023, we did not make any revenue. Right? Zero. I think like 2022 and 2023, zero. We did not do anything because I was already focused on Beezop and Questionwave and all of that, but I left it running. I started working on SEO for Reservo, and all of a sudden, one day, one beauty business just signed up. In fact, if you check our Instagram till today, you will assume the business is dead. That's to show you how I packed it. But the only thing is that I did not shut it down. But to be fair, it's also the kind of business where it doesn't require, I'm not hiring anybody, it's just a platform, right? You use it, it works. The only thing I'm paying for is server cost, which is very, very cheap, right? I do not use AWS, right? I just use a very cheap hosting. So it was very, very easy to keep running. And then someone just signed up one day and they set up their services and everything. They shared their booking link and I saw 1 order, 2 orders, 3 orders, 4 orders from one business. And then another business signed up and it just continued that way. Up to now that we now have significantly more orders, right, coming through the platform without any additional effort. So that's an example of there's nothing wrong with this business. There's nothing wrong with the business model. It's just an issue of time. But there are also some businesses that time will not solve. There are some problems that time will not solve. Where, especially if it involves a lot of more effort, you need to be paying salaries. You need to have your time invested in this thing. And there's no capital to run it. Then time does not solve that. Or if the market is wrong, where it might apply to your business, it might not, where there's a cultural problem. You don't solve cultural problem with time. There's a reason why it's culture. It has become their way of life, right? But it might also mean that there is a fundamental problem with the business itself. Because it might mean that people prefer, I don't know if this applies to your business, right? But it might be that people prefer to just post in a WhatsApp group that, I beg, do you know any plumber that you trust? Right? They say, this is my guy. Reach out to him. Maybe they prefer that than using a third-party platform. Right? Maybe they prefer to just call people that they know. Do you understand? There might be an assumption that you are making about the solution to this problem that is not actually the solution. So it's about figuring out what is the real problem here. Is this something that needs capital to solve? Can we get the money? Does it need time to solve? Can we wait and not die? Or is it something that we cannot solve? Or is it something that you leave it and maybe later you come back? Or you just leave it? At the end of the day, you just have to be honest with yourself. But ultimately, when you get to a point where you know you've tried your best for now, and you make whatever decision you make after that, be fine with it. In fact, if you can write it down, that this is why I am shutting down this business, because you will forget, right? Especially when you start seeing some quotes, you will forget and start thinking, maybe I should not have shut down. But if you wrote it down, like this is why I shut this thing down, you can go and remember and look at it again that, no, I knew what I was doing when I shut this thing down. And nothing stops you from coming back to a startup 5 years later when you now have clarity on exactly how to solve it, or 1 year later. And there are some problems that you have to be far from itself before you see the solution. When you are inside, you are not seeing it. So those are my thoughts. I'm sorry I didn't answer your question, though, but I think I've answered your question.
Yeah. All right, so we have one question from someone online, and he's asking, how do you target a niche market in order to broaden your customer base so that you can test out different customer segments?
How do you target a niche market?
Yes, in order to broaden the market and then target, and also segment your customer base. It's a bit tricky.
It's a very tricky question, right? Niche basically means that it's already defined, right? So depending on who you are trying to reach, if it's a niche and it's a well-defined niche, it's usually easier to even target them. So if, for instance, I'm selling to schools, I know that I need to market where schools are. Are there events that school owners or managers attend? I know that's where I'm doing my marketing, right? Or if there are schools, there are probably directories. There are platforms that have directories of all the schools in Lagos, for instance, right? Niching makes it a lot easier to target customers, right? So I'm not exactly sure. It just depends on the niche. Figure out, okay, who are they? Where are they? What do they listen to? Where do they get information from? And just be in those places, whether directly or through online advertising. That just seems, based on my understanding of that question.
All right, I think that's a very good answer. Thank you so much, Charles. We can give him a round of applause.
Thank you.